learning how to research property is a must because many times you want to go to an auction and there'll be numerous properties and you won't want to just go to a title company and spend thousands of dollars researching. Welcome back. I'm Ted Thomas. I've been involved in tax defaulted real estate for over 30 years as an investor and as a guide and as an author. This is like riding a bicycle. When you start out, you'll think you're never going to be able to get it right. But sure enough, if you keep practicing, it's like having training wheels. And after a short time, you'll learn how to do this. But learning how to research property is a must because many times you want to go to an auction and there'll be numerous properties and you won't want to just go to a title company and spend thousands of dollars researching. So you need basic research on how to find the liens on the property and how to find different encumbrances on the property. So today's episode is how to do title research on the property before the tax defaulted auction. So my first recommendation, of course, is get a professional and have them research the title and make sure you've done that before you actually purchase. But if you're looking at auction lists and there's hundreds of properties, you need to do some basic research yourself. Later on in this episode, I'll show you an example of a tax defaulted purchase for basically pennies on the dollar and a resale for genuinely high profits. And I'll go through that in just a few minutes. Now, most people refer to the people that work at title companies as abstractors or title searchers or something like that. All right, you don't have to get that good at this, but you need to learn to do basic research before you bid at a tax defaulted auction. Now, usually the people that work at title companies have training in this, so they're going to be expert and can get it done quickly, but you're going to have to look at many properties at tax defaulted auction. At least you look at the list before you buy the property. So you need to get some basics and learn how to do it. All right, now tax defaulted properties are not a problem. There's going to be plenty of them, and they're all going to be listed on a list that the tax assessor is going to make for you to look at. All right, now that's actually the treasurer and the tax collector do that. All right, so there's no other property in the county that'll have that one solo number that you get from the list. So once you have that number, it only applies to that property in the county. So now you can start your basic research. All right, now you don't want a property that has outstanding liens or debts on it. All right, what do I mean? All right, now there could be liens on the property, there could be mortgages, there could be deeds of trust on the property, there could be municipal liens, there could be a federal lien, like an IRS lien, all right? So you want to learn to do the basic research. All right, now all of these liens will stay on the property except the title report will show that the deed of trust lien and the mortgage will be wiped out. In other words, it's canceled by the treasurer. So you don't have to worry about the deed of trust or the mortgage. All right, now there's another lien that everybody's worried about, and that's the IRS lien. That lien will remain on the property for 120 days if the county has notified the IRS that they're going to have an auction. So most of the IRS liens will fall off the property. All right, now, I'm not an attorney, so you need to talk to attorneys about that. You need to talk to brokers about that, and they'll give you the exact answer. Also talk to the county officials. But what I'm telling you, I'm giving you basic research information now so that you can do something before you bid at the auction. But you want to know what liens are available and which one's the lead. All right, now don't stop with just the liens. You want to find out about easements, about building driveways across your property. You want to find out about restrictions for wetlands, or conservation areas. You want to find out, is it farmland that you can only put row crops on, or can you put orchards there? What can you do? Can you raise cattle? You want to find out all the restrictions on that property. All right, so researching title means you want to find out if there's any claims by outsiders, okay? All right, some people claim ownership. They'll claim the ownership, but guess what? They don't have it. So you'll know that by checking the county records and doing a little bit of research. All right, now title companies know all this information and they have it, all right? However, if you're going to buy a tax defaulted auctions, you might have 100 or 200 properties. You're not going to do that. You need to find out the properties you're interested in and then narrow the research down to 10 or 20 properties that you're going to try to bid on. So you need to do the basic research, okay? So you'll probably take a list and narrow it down to 5 or 10 properties. But you need to get some research done before you bid at a tax defaulted auction. All right, all of this is at the county records. The county records are the public records. They're absolutely free. Now, when we conduct these classes, we conduct it in the office. We have basic classes that you can attend if you're a client. All right, that's a basic class. But before you buy at the auction, you need to have looked at that property. You need to have looked at the neighborhood so you know how you're going to be able to sell it. And you need to do the basic research. You want to find out, is the municipal lien going to stay on the property? Is the government lien going to stay on the property? Is the mortgage going to leave the property? Yes, the mortgage and the deed of trust are going to be wiped out by the county. The point is you need to check on these things if you're going to be a good buyer at the auction. All right, this research can be done at the county records. Maybe there was a bankruptcy involved. Maybe there's a child support lien against the property. Maybe there's a divorce judgment against the property. You need to find out about those financial judgments before you head off to the auction. All right, now the county records are the public records. That means they're open to the public, but you need to learn how to do some of that basic research. For example, I have a neighbor that got in trouble, and sure enough, they were violating some of the deed restrictions in the subdivision. He had no idea there were deed restrictions. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means they might have deed restriction on how many cars you can park on your driveway or on your lot. They might have deed restriction on changing the color. They might have deed restrictions on how many animals can you have. Can you have lions and tigers, or do you are restricted to one dog? What about the color? What about the number of bedrooms? You can't just start adding bedrooms on a house. You can't start changing things around if there's deed restrictions. All of that is at the county records. Anybody can check on that. So in addition to the physical condition of the property, the county is going to say, we're not checking on any defects on the title. So you need to do some basic research, okay? All right, so don't purchase a property just by looking at a number. Go look at the property. What if it had burned down? All right, you don't want to purchase a property unless you've checked the county records. All right, now you can hire an abstractor. You can hire a title company to do all that. You need to do some of the basic research before you head off to that property. All right, so the important question always to ask yourself is, what's the neighborhood? Now, you can buy a property and you get a great deal on it, and maybe you can fix it up with paint and a little cleanup, but what about the neighborhood? If the neighborhood isn't good, you're not going to be able to sell it. So I'm always fond of saying, you know, you can fix the property, but you can't fix the neighborhood. So you need to do some basic research. We call that due diligence. All right, now most property purchasers at auction, most buyers that are investors, are untrained. All right, so what do? They bid too high. If you bid too high, how are you getting rid of the property? Well, you'll know if you paid too much right away, but you could know before the auction by checking comparable records and going to look at those neighborhoods. I'm going to run out of time in just a few minutes, but I do want to explain a couple of more things. Looking at the neighborhoods is very, very important. All right, this is a very positive business. You're going to be able to buy properties 10, 20, 30 cents on the dollar with no mortgage or deed of trust. But that doesn't mean there isn't other liens on the property or there isn't other restriction. So spend a little time before you bid at that tax auction and do some basic research. Look, majority of tax defaulted properties are used and abused. Some of them are junk. Don't buy the junk. Some of them just need paint and cleanup and they're ready to go. You can do all of this by simply checking the property records, by having boots on the ground, and by checking the neighborhoods before you buy. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying dealing and buying and selling tax defaulted property is just going to be a piece of cake. It's not going to be like falling out of a rocking chair. You have to spend a little time on your due diligence. Financial success is real in this business, but you've got to have a system and follow it step by step. Now, I'm about to run out of time. Now, before I do that, you see those little white circles? That's how many auctions are taking place within that state in the next 90 days. This calendar updates every single day. I'm here today to show you how to make money. To do that, I'm going to show you briefly that there are thousands of tax defaulted real estate properties across the 3,000 plus counties in the United States. This is quite interesting. You're looking at the Ted Thomas Magic Interactive Map and Auction Calendar. It changes every day. Now, I created the calendar and the map so I would know how many auctions are taking place every day in the United States. Now I can show the little guy how to make money. Most importantly, I created this system so I could have an auction list for each auction 24/7. The small population counties are going to have dozens, sometimes hundreds of properties that are available. The large population counties could have thousands. I've been to auctions where there's thousands of properties that you can buy for pennies on the dollar. If you'd like to know where those auctions are and how many, just go up below me and you'll find out about those. Now, I'll finish by telling you there's two big mistakes that are made at auction. One, people don't go out and look at the property. Now, I don't know whether there's been a flood. I don't know whether the building's burned down. I don't know if there's been a pig farm there. I don't know what could have happened to that property, but you need to have boots on the ground and check and make sure you know what you're buying. The other mistake people make is they don't look at the property, and when they're looking at the property, they don't look at the neighborhood. You've got to look at the neighborhood because you're going to want to sell the property. If the neighborhood isn't good, you're going to have trouble selling the property. So you want to know before you start bidding how high to bid. So you need to get a good look at the neighborhood. I'm Ted Thomas. I'll see you on the next video.
I made 2 times my yearly salary in that 6-month period.
It's a secure program. I wish I had known this years ago.
Don't forget, request your free auction list right below me.